You're still here. We're still here. We're here to help you win your fantasy football championship. Drop a like if you're still here and you're still watching the videos. Also, go Hoosiers, baby. All right, let's start with
the more you say it, the more likely they are to win. Keep saying it.
That's kind of where I'm at right now. I think if we just keep doing it, go Hoosiers. All right, let's go with Dallas versus Detroit. This is a Thursday night game, right?
Yep.
Obviously, every time Dallas plays somebody, you want every player in that game to start for the most part. Now, it's a tough matchup for Javonte, actually. Of course it is, which I don't even care. I'm in the playoffs at this point. But Javonte, the Lions have allowed the second least amount of points to fantasy football running backs this year. And so, but Javonte's a start. Start in the B tier. We'll put him in the B tier, put Malik Davis in the I tier. Malik Davis is still a sit, even though he has shown some signs of life, I think Malik Davis has recently. CD and George Pickens, both S tier guys. You know the drill, guys. This is a dream matchup for these wide receivers. Green lights all across the board. Do not leave them out of your lineups. You wouldn't have anyways. Jahmyr Gibbs, start. David Montgomery. I'm going to say start. I'm going to say start for David Montgomery. He's in the F tier for us. I think he's somebody you can plug in your flex spot this week, like straight up. J-Mo, absolutely start. We're not going to put Amon-Ra here. He would be starting as well. But Gibbs in the S tier, Montgomery in the F tier, Jameson Williams in the B tier as a start, of course. And then Isaac Tesla in the G tier. I'm going to say sit. I'm not comfortable starting Tesla. But again, good Thursday night game this week. And you're starting all the ones. You're starting Pickens. You're starting Montgomery in this game as well. It should be a fantasy productive matchup. Should be high scoring as well.
Then we've got Seattle and Atlanta. The running backs, it's tails old as time. Is it Walker or Charbonnet this week? And over the next couple of weeks, I think we are going to give the upper hand to Kenneth Walker. I am going to give you the green light with Walker this week. His snap share has been notably higher than Charbonnet's. And he's had a floor of about 10 points over the last 3 or 4 weeks. So I think he's a decent flex option. I'll go meh with Zach Charbonnet in the G tier still because any given week he can vulture a touchdown or get a goal line carry, and then he also has 10 to 12 points. But again, don't feel as comfortable with him. JSN must start every single week S tier. Cooper Kupp and Rashid Shaheed both going to be sits in the H and I tier respectively in a neutral matchup. JSN's the only guy you feel comfortable with. Expect him to bounce back from a slow week last week where they dominated Minnesota. Atlanta, you've got Bijan in the A tier. Start every single week. Algier just happens to have some good games here and there. He vultured another touchdown last week, had 13 points. It's so up and down with Algier. More often than not, he's in the single digits, low end of single digits. So I'm going to go sit with Algier this week. It's touchdown or bust for him, even worse than Charbonnet. And then for the wide receivers there, assuming that you don't have Drake London there, Darnell Mooney will be the number one option. He's very boomer bust. I'll go meh with him in the G tier. David Sills, I tier. We just ranked him for you. You're welcome. He's a sit though. But if London plays, you're absolutely going to start him. Red lights for running backs and wide receivers. 4th least amount of points allowed to running backs in fantasy this season for Seattle's defense, and the 8th least amount of points for wide receivers. So again, don't feel great about Mooney, even if he's the number one option there.
No, this next one, Cincinnati and Buffalo, you got a lot of guys you can start in this game. Chase Brown in the A tier, Jamar Chase in the S tier, and T. Higgins in the B tier. It's a better matchup for Chase Brown than anybody. Buffalo's run defense has allowed the 4th most amount of points to running backs this year. But T. Higgins, I will note here, the 3rd Bengal on the tier list. And with T, I mean, he's in concussion protocol, but he was limited at practice as of 5 minutes ago of recording this video. And so we're going to have him in here. I'm going to assume he's going to play, and I probably would start him. Joe Burrow's back. Obviously, he makes him a pretty good start. Good matchup for James Cook in the S tier. The Cincinnati Bengals, on the other hand, their rushing defense has allowed the 2nd most amount of points to fantasy football running backs this year. So good matchup for both running backs, Chase Brown and James Cook, at both S and A tier for us this week. The only wide receiver that I like to start in Buffalo's this week is Khalil Shakir in the D tier. It is a tough matchup. Cincinnati's secondary has actually allowed the 5th least amount of points over the entire season to wide receivers. Problem is, Keon Coleman's a non-factor right now. There's nobody else doing anything there. Shakir continues to be a start. We'll have him in the D tier.
Football gods blessed us with a Titans and Browns matchup this week, so I'm not going to waste much of your time. The only startable asset in this game with a neutral matchup against Tennessee's mediocre run defense is Quinshon Judkins. In the B tier, he will be a start. Everybody else that you could dream of on either side of the ball here is going to be a sit.
All right, Washington, Minnesota. It's a tough matchup for the receivers in this Washington offense, but Terry actually had a great game last week. Looked pretty good, got a lot of target volume. You could have Jaden Daniels potentially back, and Debo. So even though Minnesota's secondary has allowed the 2nd least amount of points to wide receivers this year, I think Debo and Terry are guys you have to start with the bye weeks this week. C and D tier for those guys in terms of running backs. Neutral matchup for these guys, but Chris Rodriguez has been really the only guy sniffing 10 points a game right now. Put him in the F tier, put the other guys in the I tier. I'm not starting them. I will say meh for Chris Rodriguez. Good matchups for the Minnesota position groups here, as the Washington defense has been top 5 in allowing points to both running backs and wide receivers. And so you don't even think about it. Aaron Jones and Justin Jefferson. I mean, I guess you do think about it with Justin Jefferson to some extent, but he is still C tier because it is a great matchup for Jefferson this week. Jefferson has a great rest of season schedule. And we're going to see something's going to have to give here. It's going to be either McCarthy/Brosmer or it's going to be the schedule. But I think start Justin Jefferson this week. I'm going to say meh for Jordan Addison in the F tier. Jordan Mason, I'm going to say sit in the G tier. But again, good matchups for these Vikings. It's just a matter of can that offense actually churn out some fantasy production. I think this week Jefferson will be productive. I think Jordan Addison could have touchdown upside, which is why he's a flex spot guy. But again, the Vikings are always going to be risky because of the quarterback situation that's going on in Minnesota right now.
We got Miami and the Jets duking it out this week. Devon Achane has one of the better running back matchups this week. He'll be in the S tier. Expect a big week for him. Ollie Gordon to sit behind him. Jalen Waddle. B tier. Expect him to bounce back after a slow couple of weeks. This is a neutral matchup for him going up against the Jets secondary, which hasn't been any better since they traded all their defensive players away. Malik Washington behind him is going to be a sit in the H tier. Breece Hall on the flip side at the running back position for the Jets. A tier. Must start every single week. He's the only consistently relevant asset in that offense because Garrett Wilson's injured right now. Isaiah Davis not ranked, sit. This is a neutral matchup for the running backs there, middle of the road. This is a tough matchup for the wide receivers here. So while some people are going to try and get cute and start Adonai Mitchell, who had 24 points this last week, or John Mechie, who had 18 points the week before, I would say just go ahead and sit both of them. Miami's allowed the 7th least amount of points to fantasy wide receivers this season. And with Tyrod Taylor at the helm, I don't trust any receiving asset in that offense unless their name is Garrett Wilson, and he's on IR right now.
All right, let's go to New Orleans and Tampa Bay here. I'm going to start with New Orleans here. Devin Neal's been about 10 points per game since he's been the starter there. I mean, I'm gonna say meh for him. I think it could be a decent start, and so I'll say meh. F tier for him. Evan Hull, I'm not ranking, of course. Chris Olave B tier as a start. Devon Vele, I'm gonna have as a meh as well. I'm gonna have Devon Vele in the F tier as well, and I think Devon Vele is somebody you can consider flexing. The last 2 games, he's had 7 targets and 8 targets. Thank goodness I avoided that. So he also had 23 points against Miami. He caught all 8 of his targets and had a touchdown. I think Vele is a guy you could plug in if you're shorthanded with the bye weeks this week. Tampa Bay, again, neutral matchups across the board for these 2 guys. So there's really not the matchups aren't influencing our decisions here, but Tampa Bay does have Green Vegas lights in this matchup. And so Bucky A tier start, Rachaad White I tier sit. We'll go Emeka Egbuka C tier start. Emeka Egbuka in the C tier because he's averaging, how many points per game over his last 7 games? Like 9 or something like that. It's not good. But C tier, you're still going to start him, I think. And Chris Godwin, the F tier, I'll also put as a meh. I think Godwin had 10 points last week. He's capable of that in a given week, so he's a shaky flex option if you want to start him.
We've got JT for Indy going up against Jacksonville S tier every single week. Got to start him. This is a tougher matchup for him. The Jacksonville Jaguars have allowed the 3rd least amount of points for running backs this season. Heard some stat about them only allowing 70, no more than 70 rushing yards to any running back this season. So might be a little tough. He's going to need a touchdown to have a really, really good day. Goods and beyond him, not rankable. He's a sit. Michael Pittman and Alec Pierce in the C and D tier respectively. I'm going to give you the green light to start both of these guys. Pierce, a little bit more boom bust than Michael Pittman. But I think both of them are going to have a pretty solid day in a neutral matchup against Jacksonville's secondary. They may have to pass it a little bit more, especially if they end up down in this game, which they do often end up being down against Jacksonville in Jacksonville. The Josh Downs in the H tier, I'm going to go with a sit. He doesn't have as much touchdown upside as Pittman and Pierce do. On the Jacksonville side of the ball, you've got Travis Etienne in the C tier, must start. A neutral matchup for the running backs in Jacksonville and the wide receivers. We're going to have Etienne as a start and Jacoby Myers in the C tier as a start and BTJ in the F tier as a start. I know it's a little shaky with Myers and BTJ specifically, but there's a couple of contextual things that matter. Number one, for the running backs there, like Travis Etienne, DeForest Buckner has been on IR for the last few weeks, and Kareem Hunt and Woody Marks have looked like the second coming of Barry Sanders since he's been out. So expect a good week from Travis Etienne. And then for the secondary for the Colts, Sauce Gardner just had that calf strain where he's going to miss a couple of weeks as well. And while Sauce Gardner is out, they're a lot more hobbled, obviously, in the secondary. So I'd expect good days from Myers and BTJ across the board. Again, we're expecting a high-scoring game for Jacksonville.
All right, Denver, Las Vegas here. I'll start with Denver. C tier for Courtland Sutton, B tier for RJ Harvey, and D tier for Troy Franklin. It's actually a good matchup for the wide receivers. The Las Vegas Raiders have given up the 7th most amount of points to wide receivers in fantasy football this year. Start both of them. Start RJ Harvey in the B tier. You're feeling good about that. RJ Harvey did have 2 touchdowns last week. He's gonna be there because he's gonna get red zone carries essentially because he's the only guy there. His efficiency is still very lackluster right now. Las Vegas side of the ball, the only guy I'm starting here is Ashton Jeanty in the G tier. I will rank Trey Tucker in the G tier, but again, red lights all across the board. Brutal matchup against Denver. Jeanty's the only guy. He he's in the C tier for us this week because it's such a tough match. He's really the only guy on that side of the ball that you actually feel comfortable starting.
So we got Pittsburgh and Baltimore. Jaylen Warren going to be in the B tier here. He's a start every single week. Very high floor, low ceiling type of guy. He'll get you double digits most likely. Kenneth Gainwell, H tier. We're going to sit him. DK Metcalf, we'll label him as a start this week. Yellow light for the wide receivers here. He's got a very low floor though, so he'll be kind of a flex option that you don't feel great about. Calvin Austin to sit behind him. Derrick Henry will be listed as a start every single week. He's been pretty decent since Lamar has come back, honestly. So he'll definitely be a start. Keaton Mitchell in the I tier as a sit behind him. Zay Flowers in the C tier. I would expect him to bounce back in what is a pretty solid matchup going against Pittsburgh secondary, who's allowed the 6th most amount of points to fantasy wide receivers this season. Bateman behind him, not even ranked. He's a sit.
All right, Chicago, Green Bay. We'll talk about the Chicago running backs first. Neutral matchup against Green Bay. Green Bay actually is a little bit on the tougher end of the matchups, to be honest with you. But with Swift and Monangai, we're going to have Swift one tier ahead of Monangai here. I struggle with saying Swift start and Monangai meh because Monangai out-carried him. I just want to see what it looks like for 2 straight weeks. I'm more confident in Swift, so I'm going to say that. I'm going to say start for Swifty and meh for Monangai. If I see this for 2 straight weeks, if I see this for 2 straight weeks where Kyle Monangai is out-producing or out-carrying DeAndre Swift, then we're going to have some conversations next week. Rome Odunze start in the D tier, DJ Moore met in the F tier, Luther Burden sit in the H tier, although Luther Burden is on the up and up, right? Green Bay, good matchup for the wide receivers here. Christian Watson in the C tier and Romeo Doubs in the D tier start. Dontavian Wicks sit in the G tier. Start Josh Jacobs this week. We have him in the A tier. We've got Emmanuel Wilson in the I tier. Neutral matchups for the running backs. So you're starting all of the ones in this game and starting Romeo Doubs. You're shaky about the Chicago 2s in Kyle Monangai and DJ Moore.
Don't be fooled by Blake Corum's 14-point performance to Kyron's 13-point performance last week. Kyron obviously going to be in the B tier here as a must-start. Blake Corum in the G tier as a sit. Kyron was banged up for like a drive or two in that game. Blake Corum ended up getting a goal line carry, which salvaged his day. It's still Kyron's backfield by far. This is a green light matchup for the running backs here. The Arizona defenses allow like the 8th most amount of points to fantasy wide receivers or fantasy running backs this season. Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, both A tier, must starts every single week. Then on the flip side, Arizona's running back room is uncertain because of Benson. We don't know when he's going to be back. He did not practice on Wednesday, and neither did Marv, actually. But Bam Knight, if he's the number 1 guy there, is going to be in the D tier, and he is going to be a start. He's been the most reliable running back since Benson has been out. Michael Carter going to be in the H tier as a sit. This is a tough matchup for the running back, so you're going to have a lower floor with Bam Knight, but if he gets a touchdown, he's going to have a good day. Marvin Harrison, C tier if he does start. Michael Wilson going to be in the F tier, and he's going to be a sit. Now, if Marvin Harrison, for whatever reason, because he got banged up at the end of last game, doesn't play this week, which I still expect him to play, even though he didn't participate in practice on Wednesday, the day that we're recording, Michael Wilson would automatically become a must start. But assuming Marv plays, got to sit Michael Wilson.
Houston, Kansas City, defensive matchup here if I ever saw one. Mark's in the D tier, you can start. Nico in the A tier, you can start. I'm going to sit Nick Chubb this week. I will say meh for Jaden Higgins. He's been better recently. No, tough matchup, though. It's the Chiefs. And then Kansas City, a tough matchup for them. I mean, Houston's got a great defense. Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco, I have them both as mess, F tier and H tier for them, respectively. I lean Kareem Hunt more than I do Pacheco at the moment, but Pacheco's almost a sit for me, actually. I think it's probably going to be Kareem Hunt. So I'm going to say Kareem Hunt, meh, Isaiah Pacheco, sit. Tough matchup there. Tough matchup for Rashee Rice as well. He is in the S tier for us, though. He has to be. Xavier Worthy in the F tier is going to be a meh, and Marquise Brown in the G tier is going to be a sit. Again, 2 very good defensive teams. Some fantasy productive guys, including the wide receivers in this team, but you might end up having slower weeks from these guys, to be honest with you.
Then our last game on Monday night is going to be Philly and the Chargers. Pretty straightforward for Philly. Saquon still have to start every single week. He is going to be in a lower tier in the C tier. This is a yellow light for him in terms of the defensive matchup against the Chargers' run defense. Tank Bigsby behind him, not rankable, a sit. A.J. Brown B tier, Devonta Smith C tier. They're now in different tiers. A.J. Brown, since he's been on a tear, is going to be a tier above Devonta Smith, but still okay with you starting both of these guys. You never know which one it's going to be. I wouldn't bet on it being both of them because the Chargers actually have the best of recent, the best pass defense in the league. They've allowed the least amount of points to fantasy wide receivers this week. So again, between A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith, got to start them both. It's kind of a toss-up, though. Just don't know which one it's going to be. The Chargers, on the other hand, have Amari Hampton coming back. He's expected to be ready to go on Monday night. He'll be a start in the C tier. You've had Philly allow like the 7th most amount of points to running backs this season. Kamani Vidal is now effectively a sit now that Hampton is back. Ladd is the wide receiver 1 for the Chargers. He's really a wide receiver too, but he's the wide receiver, one of the top option there for Justin Herbert. Herbert hopefully good to go after he had surgery on his non-throwing hand, but Ladd will be in the C tier. We'll label him as a start, and then we're just going to go meh to sit down the line here. Quentin Johnson is touchdown or bust, and then Keenan Allen hasn't had a double-digit game since that matchup against the Colts in Week 7, so he's no longer a reliable start. Neutral matchup for the receivers against Philly's secondary, right middle of the road there in terms of the fantasy production that they allow.
Yeah, worth noting, we're ranking these guys like Justin Herbert is playing. If he does not play, we're probably not going to start any of these guys. Trey Lance at quarterback against the Eagles secondary, I'd probably rather not.
They did say they're planning on him playing.
So that's why we're ranking him accordingly. That's a caveat in case he doesn't play. So, all right, last week of the regular season, and then we're into playoff time. Good luck, everybody. Hope you're getting the buys in the playoffs. If you need anything, of course, let Nathan and I know. But we love you. We appreciate you. We'll see you here next week.